Resident electoral commissioners across the country have said there has been low turnout of voters' registration as well as the collection of permanent voters' cards, with some states having up to 700,000 uncollected voters' cards. On our big story tonight, we look at the reasons behind the low turnout of eligible voters and its implications on the elections next year.
With each passing day, the 2019 general elections draws even closer. Nigerians, eager to exercise their rights to choose their new leader, gather in their hundreds across the country in a bid to get their voters' card. According to statistics made available by INEC, the total number of registered voters across the country stands at over 80 million. By region, the highest number of continuous voter registration, as at the 14th of June, puts the South-South region of Nigeria in the top position and the Northwest at the lowest. However, the Southwest region has the highest rate of uncollected PVCs left over from 2015. Registering is one thing, being able to vote is another. So comes the issue of how many people have collected their permanent voter's card, because without it, you cannot vote. The total number of collected PVCs in the 2017-2018 CVR exercise puts the Northwest in the highest with 951,091 and the North Central lowest by 458,873. And there's also the issue of requests for reprints and transfers, which the electoral body has to deal with. So how does INEC intend to ensure that eligible voters are not disenfranchised?
The cards for the over 4 million fresh registrations, including requests for transfer and replacement, will be ready for collection in the first week of May 2018. We have also made arrangements to ensure that those who register this year get their cards immediately thereafter.
The INEC chairman says the commission is able to register, process and deliver the PVCs in time to Nigerians. What then are the factors responsible for piles of uncollected PVCs lying across the country?
I had a very tough experience, I can't lie, because it wasn't easy. I feel, I in particular, I know that I have been here since around 6, and I know of people that have slept even here. It is a very tough, one would be even discouraged to even continue doing the exercise because there is no ease in doing it.
It's very tiring. Most times I even think I don't really want it any longer, but it's compulsory because in this life we really need to go out for the change when we need the change. We need to put up as youth, we need to say no to corruption and put the right leaders that deserve to be in leadership.
I've been here since yesterday in order to see that I get my voter's card, but it was so unfortunate that we came early in the morning and we left yesterday around 4 without having it due to the fact that the line is too much and the processing is slow.
On August 14th, INEC announced the continuous voters registration process will be extended for another 2 weeks.
You plan an election on the basis of the total number of voters on the register. It was 70 million in 2015. It is now 82 million. The 70 million from 2015 plus the continuous voter registration exercise that led to the addition of new registrants of so far 12.1 million, and that takes us to 82 million registered voters. And it's not over yet because we have just extended the continuous voter registration to the end of this month.
As it stands, the results of the elections are to be determined by a quarter of the country's voting population. It's left for the others to get on board, collect their PVCs and exercise their franchise. For the big story, Tosin Additional, Channels Television News.
The wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Oshibajo, is calling for the support of women in peacebuilding. Mrs. Oshibajo describes the role of spouses of military personnel as critical in the sustenance of peace and security, especially in the states affected by insurgency. She was speaking at a forum organized by the wives of defense and police officers in Abuja. Let's move on to business news now. Here's Kayode Okikiolu.
Many thanks, Ijoma, and welcome to Business News. The central bank has announced plans to support commercial banks to enable them to give loans to players in the agricultural and manufacturing sector at a single-digit interest rate. Now, at the Bankers Committee meeting held in Lagos today, the CBN's Director of Banking Supervision, Mr. Ahmed Abdullahi, says the idea is targeted at creating jobs, particularly in the agriculture and manufacturing sectors of Nigeria's economy. While responding, the Executive Director of Finance at First City Monument Bank, Mrs. Yemisi Edun, says the idea is welcomed, while the Managing Director of Guarantee Trust Bank, Mr. Segun Agbaje, says the loans will be issued for a 7-year moratorium period. Nigeria's central bank has reported a net operating income of 400.4 billion naira for the 2017 financial year, lower by 38.8% over the 2016 figure of 654.87 billion naira. In its annual report for 2017 released today, the financial regulator says the decline was due to fair value loss on financial instruments held on its books last year. The CBN net income was also sharply lowered to 70.17 billion naira at the end of 2017, compared to 104.93 billion naira posted for full year 2016. In the meantime, the regulator says the bank made an aggregate earnings of $250 million, which is about 77.74 billion naira from the management of its external reserves in 2017. This figure was 44.2% higher than the 2016 figure of 43.40 billion naira. And moving on now, Stanbic IBTC Holdings has released its results for the period ended June 2018, showing a better performance compared to the same period in 2017. According to the financial statement, the financial service company's gross earnings went up by 17.4% to 114 billion naira, while its earnings per share increased by 80.8% to 416 kobo. At the same time, the bank's group profit before tax grew by 71% to 50.7 billion naira, while profit after tax rose by 78% to 43 billion naira. The bank's board has declared an interim dividend of 1 naira per share to its shareholders, which amounts to 10.11 billion naira. This is subject to deduction of appropriate withholding tax and regulatory approval. The naira is expected to trade within between 362 and 363 against the dollar next week. And this is as banks collate customer bids in preparation for the central bank's auction of the greenback and Chinese yuan on Friday. This week, the naira fell to as low as 364 per dollar on the investor's window and 306.05 against the dollar on the official market. Similarly, the local unit of other major African currencies, such as the Ghanaian cedi, the Zambian kwacha, and Uganda's shillings, are expected to remain under pressure as the dollar rises and risk-averse investors pull out from emerging market assets. In the meantime, currency traders expect the Kenyan shilling to hold steady next week. Nigeria's stock market remains in the red today as heavy sell-off, or rather sell pressure from the NSA's largest listed company, Dangote Cement, deals a heavy blow on the industrial goods sector and other key market indicators. Bisi Adebayo has more details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The benchmark index of the Nigerian Stock Exchange fell sharply below the 35,000 level at the close of today's trading session after plunging by 1.29% as the bearish sentiment enters its 10th consecutive decline. The impact of the heavy profit taking, which hit all major counters of the equities market, led to a 167 billion naira drop in the equities capitalization. On the other hand, total volume of shares traded for Thursday increased by over 28 million units from Wednesday's session to 237.8 million shares, driven by the shares of UBA, GT Bank, and FBN Holdings. Equity Assurance is the highest gainer out of 17 advances, up by 10%, while Airline Services tops a list of 29 decliners, down by 10%. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. I am Bisi Adebayo.
Thank you, Bisi. Let's head over to the global scene as US and European markets rebound sharply from previous sell-offs as investors react to report of upcoming resolution to a trade dispute between Washington and Beijing. In the meantime, it's a negative close across board for major Asian markets on Thursday. How about we see some numbers? And that's business news for tonight. Many thanks for watching. I am Kayode Okikiolu. The news at 10 continues with Ijeoma.
Thanks, Kayode. The Katsina State Command of the Nigeria Immigration Service says it's rescued 7 victims of human trafficking in the state and arrested a woman suspected to be involved in the trafficking business. The comptroller of the command told journalists that the victims, aged 11 to 44, were rescued by officers stationed at the Jibia Magama control post. He confirmed that 3 of the victims are from Oyo State, 2 from Lagos, 1 from Bayelsa, and the other from Ogun State.
The fight against human trafficking is an ongoing campaign in Nigeria and elsewhere around the world. The government agencies saddled with the responsibility of ending this problem, NAPTIP, seems to be in endless collaborations with local and global partners to stop the scourge at home and abroad. These partnerships are paying off, with the latest suspected traffickers arrested in Katsina State by the State Command of the Nigeria Immigration Service.
The victims are of the age between 44 and 11 years, and all are Nigerian citizens. Three of them are from Oyo State, 2 from Lagos State, 1 from Bayelsa State, and 1 from Ogun State, respectively.
The 7 victims, aged between 11 and 44 years, were brought to the command alongside the suspected trafficker, a woman.
May I at this junction reiterate our determination and effective manning of our expansive borders to put an end to the menace of human trafficking to save innocent Nigerians.
Thousands of Nigerians, many victims of human trafficking, have made voluntary returns from Libya, a popular crossing point from Africa for those looking to get into Europe. Libya comes up yet again in this latest bust, as the suspected trafficker claims to have been working in Libya.
Me, I'm working in Libya. I'm not today. I've been in Libya. I used to come home to check on my children. So they decided to follow me this time around. Then I said, okay, let us go. I did their passport. I was supposed to do the passport at Lagos, but there was too much crowd. And my ticket was supposed to expire day before yesterday, 11 of this month, August.
In the last 1 month, the command says it has arrested 2 suspected human traffickers and rescued 18 victims. The controller reiterates that there will be non-stop surveillance of the borders to reduce the scourge and save innocent